The top skills every newcomer needs. Can you still find deals? And changes are happening in the property market. I'm your host Matthew Moody, and today we are joined by acclaimed property sourcing expert Mark Jansen in a mini interview and masterclass on what's going on in the sourcing industry. Stay tuned. Hello and a warm welcome back to Property TV. Now, if you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Subscribe on the button below, because that means you get the latest updates as and when we release them. And this season, we are releasing tons of episodes, so stay tuned for our interview with Mr. Mark Jansen. So, hi Mark, thanks for joining us at a special edition of Property TV. We're live from Westminster. So you've just done a really great talk on how people can make money through sourcing property. But interestingly, one of the things you said is, you know, you're not exactly a big fan of property, but what you're a fan of is what?
Money.
Money. So for those people that want to get started in property right now, you see them coming time to workshops and say, I have got no money. Yeah. And obviously one of the great strategies for doing that is the type of thing that you do, sourcing or property trading. So what are some of the skills that you think someone would need in order to get going in that type of business?
Well, it's weird. People think they can't do it because they haven't got any money. That's the biggest subject in their minds, because they've been taught from parents, teachers, people growing up and work colleagues and bosses that they need a deposit to buy the property. And the thing is, you don't have to buy anything at all. You just don't, because I mean, lots of people talk about creative deals. There's nothing better than passing on a creative deal to another investor that isn't a landlord, is experienced, does want the property, and then taking a fee. And then therefore you don't have to have the money to buy, and you don't have to have the credit rating, the deposits, and all that sort of stuff, and the big money that you think you might need to do it. I just wish if someone's in a job, because you're never going to get rich being in a job. So if they're in a job, is step out and see if they can find a deal, see if they can package it, see if they can sell it to another investor and make some cash.
Absolutely. And one of the things I think you mentioned in your talk is about the fact that, you know, when most people are out, say, looking at property, they're not necessarily focused on what they can do to actually help that owner to actually create something from that. It's more about, oh, how can I get the biggest discount, or how can I do this? Whereas it seems to me that your strategy is more about how can you help that person actually do something with their property, actually solve a problem.
Yeah, and we are. I mean, I've heard it for years. They say that property is a people business, but they don't get what that means. So if I'm in a house with a vendor, I'm sat with a couple who've just done one just before Christmas, which was Paul and Sharon, and they live in an inherited property. There's no mortgage on it, and they've had it on the market for a year, and it's not particularly nice property, to be fair, because Mum hasn't been upstairs in 20 years before she went. And they're just straddled with this property that they don't know what to do with. And they can't get an offer on it because the typical, the buying people that will buy it are first-time buyers. They're young, in their early 20s or mid-20s, and they look around it and they can only see mess. And so they're stuck with this property, and all they do is agree to full market value and then just did the property up for them without buying it. And it seems so simple to me because I know it and do it. But in reality, it's mind-blowing to a vendor. We're not trying to change them into business people.
Absolutely.
We're just trying to get them out of a situation that they think they're in. And if they can't see it, and you've got your knowledge and a bit of training, or a bit of gumption behind you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I hear this objection time and time again from would-be property investors, or even actually seasoned property investors, and they always say, I can't find any deals. And you and I will both laugh and smile about that. But why is it you think people get this in their head? And do you have a couple of tips of ways in which people could find property deals in the next 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you have.
Yeah, we did a workshop at Dominator Gown, which we were talking about today. And there was this chap. He was a seasoned investor a few years ago and stopped buying, I think about 2011. And he got a bit of cold feet, and property wasn't a good idea and stuff. And he came to the workshop. I think he came from here, from the last event we did together. And he said, I said, you can get them anywhere in the country. And it was a bold claim. And he said, find me one in Kensington. And I thought, oh, no, because that's just got to be hard, isn't it? Yeah. And so I got on the laptop. It was live on the screen. And I couldn't have scripted this, but I was just typing in. I was looking at the reduced list on Zoopla. And lo and behold, there's this property on there. It was 250 grand. It had been on for 6 months. And it had been reduced from 350. And it's a scruffy property. We look through the pictures, just scroll through them. It's got an oldie-worldy kitchen. It's got an oldie-worldy living room. It's not the curb appeal is not attractive because it quite often isn't on flats. It was just a horrible property. But at 250, there's scope there to make profit on it. And the chap that was on the front table in the course, he was gobsmacked because we found a deal. And they are everywhere.
They are everywhere.
They are absolutely everywhere. And it's weird. A lot of people especially in London or within the M25, they're being convinced to go north because the property's cheap. And it doesn't matter. It's just a number. So trade where you are. That's the thing, because the deals are there.
Definitely, and I know obviously you trade all over the country because you have a system that works, but for the kind of investor that's just getting started into trading, do you think it's better to start looking at a particular area and focusing, or do you think actually they could go anywhere?
Good question. A lot of the techie guys, the internet guys that are used to Facebook marketing or used to Google, pay-per-click or whatever, and that's not me, I kind of bypass that kind of era, I suppose. Those guys can trade all over the country because they can get leads in anywhere. Now, the deals won't be quite as good because they don't know the particular area.
Yeah.
But for anyone that's based in a town that's, I don't know, if you've got 80,000 population in a town or an area, you divide that by 3, you've got about 30,000 houses. Houses. That's enough stock. It's enough to go, and there will be deals in there. And you don't need millions.
This is true. So we're obviously in a kind of a little bit of a turbulent stage right now. There's lots of things going on. We've got Section 24 issues around taxation. We've got this whole kind of like change in the sector with more and more regulations coming through. You know, I know that you've never been necessarily a proponent of buying and holding, but are you seeing any kind of changes out there in the marketplace in terms of particularly leads coming through from maybe say more landlords, even landlords that have been in the business for longer, and you've seen that that's kind of also driving a slightly different I guess negotiation in terms of what a landlord believes a property's worth versus what it's actually worth.
Yeah, there's. I'm actually finding the landlords easier to deal with. There was always that tied landlord category that you'd get, which is the older landlord. They've been in it 30 years. They've collected their own rent. That type of landlord. We'd always get a few of them anyway, and they're actually quite easy to negotiate with because they're already in the game. They're all business people, and they don't need a bit of discount to shift a property. Now what we're finding is there's quite a few that bought between 2006 and 2011 that maybe bought, at the start of their journey back then. They bought slightly too high. They're now upside down, where the rent doesn't cover, especially centre of Birmingham, centre of Nottingham, centre of Newcastle, centre of Leeds, centre of Manchester. Yeah. Those type of inner city places where they think they're stuck because the property's, it's not cash flow at all. And now with Clause 24 coming in,
it's just dead.
Yeah, dead in the water, yeah.
Absolutely.
So they've got to think of other ways, and a lot of them have gone to service accommodation, which is the kind of buzzword of this sort of era. And even then, when you're doing service accommodation in a big block of flats, and that's got to be tough.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday in terms of the lure of service accommodation. Probably 5-6 years ago it was rent to rent, now it's service accommodation, and everything is overestimated in terms of how much you're going to make per night, what commissions you're going to pay, and so on and so forth. And in reality, it's impacted by the corporates because the corporates are just piling into that sector. Yeah. So, is it a long-term model? Who knows?
I can't tell the future. I haven't got a crystal ball, but I think it's a bit of a I think it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment. That's it.
Absolutely. So, obviously, your business is focused upon sourcing deals. It's also about showing other investors how to source deals. Are there any other kind of like new things you've got in the pipeline coming up that you're kind of working on or are about to release, or any kind of tidbits of interesting stuff that maybe our listeners, viewers, should I say, would be interested in knowing about?
There's an automated... Everyone tells me, and they've told me this for about 20 years, they've told me that direct mail is dead, direct to vendor marketing is dead, you can't do it anymore because of the new GDPR and all that sort of regulation. In reality, we've got a system coming up. I've got a young guy that's doing it for me, or doing it for him. It's his business that we want to partner with, and he can do direct to vendor marketing in a systemised way. You push a button, download some stuff, and you're away, and you've done it. And you can choose your budget.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Could be good.
Yeah. So if people want to get hold of you, Mark, what's the best way?
Best is by phone, 01827 706 558. it's me that you get a direct line. It's me that answers the phone. It's me people deal with when they come in, especially with the trading business and the trading business. So if I'm sat by the phone, I'll answer the phone.
So I do hope you enjoy that special live edition of Property TV, where we learned loads of really useful information from Mark Jansen. Now stay tuned for the next episode, where we'll be meeting another property expert live to find out more about what's going on in today's property market. I'll see you soon.